Welcome to Ages of War, where the battles of the ancient world are brought back to life. Here, we do not merely tell history, we relive it. Through the dust of forgotten legions and the echoes of collapsing empires, we uncover the stories of ambition, blood, betrayal, and glory that shaped the rise and fall of civilizations. Subscribe now and step into the war-torn centuries that forged the world we live in. The Roman Republic had weathered storms before, wars with Carthage, civil strife, rebellions, and the ambitions of generals. But nothing compared to the chaos that followed the Ides of March 44 BCE. The dictator Julius Caesar, conqueror of Gaul and master of Rome, lay murdered on the floor of the Senate, his blood pooling beneath the feet of his assassins. They believed they had saved the Republic. They were wrong. What followed was not a return to senatorial rule, but a power vacuum. Into that vacuum stepped a frail, 18-year-old heir, barely known to the Roman people. Gaius Octavius, Caesar's grandnephew and adopted son. No one, not even his closest allies, could have foreseen that this youth would become Augustus, the first emperor of Rome and the architect of a new world order. Octavian arrived in Rome not with legions, but with a name, Caesar's name, and that alone commanded both loyalty and fear. Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man, underestimated the boy. The Senate saw him as a pawn. Cicero, Rome's greatest orator, sought to use him against Antony, calling him the tool of the Republic. But the boy was not a tool. He was the future. In the months that followed, alliances shifted like desert sands. Octavian courted the Senate and won their backing. Antony, forced from Rome, gathered his forces in the north. In a moment of necessity, Octavian made a chilling choice. He allied with his rival. In 43 BCE, Octavian, Antony, and Lepidus formed the Second Triumvirate, a legal dictatorship with one goal: avenge Caesar's death and seize control of the Republic. The Triumvirate's reign was marked by brutal retribution. The proscriptions began, lists of enemies to be hunted, confiscated, and executed. Senators, equestrians, and ordinary citizens alike fell victim. Cicero, who had mocked Octavian, was silenced forever. His severed head and hands displayed in the forum as a chilling warning. Meanwhile, the assassins of Caesar, Brutus, and Cassius fled east, gathering forces to challenge the triumvirate. The decisive clash came at the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE. The battle was fierce, bloodied by betrayal and desperation. But the forces of Octavian and Antony prevailed. Both Brutus and Cassius met their end, and with their deaths, the dream of the Republic was all but extinguished. Yet victory did not bring peace. Lepidus was soon pushed aside, leaving Octavian and Antony as the two dominant powers in Rome. Antony's journey took him east, where he formed a powerful and dangerous alliance with Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt. Their relationship, both political and personal, ignited rumors and fear in Rome. Octavian, shrewd and patient, seized upon Antony's association with Cleopatra to paint him as a threat to Rome itself. A man seduced by foreign influence, eager to divide the empire. The Senate declared war on Cleopatra, though it was truly a war between Octavian and Antony. Tensions reached a boiling point. Antony divorced Octavia, Octavian's sister, severing ties and deepening the rift. The stage was set for a final confrontation. In 31 BCE, at the naval battle of Actium, Octavian's fleet, expertly commanded by Agrippa, crushed the forces of Antony and Cleopatra. The defeat shattered their power. Antony and Cleopatra fled to Alexandria, where their story would end in tragedy and suicide. With his rivals gone, Octavian returned to Rome in triumph. But he did not crown himself king or dictator. Instead, he cleverly presented himself as the restorer of the Republic, returning power to the Senate and people. In 27 BCE, the Senate bestowed upon him the title Augustus, the revered one. A ruler unlike any Rome had known before. Augustus stood before the Senate, clad in the simple garb of a citizen, yet carrying the weight of an empire on his shoulders. His speech was humble, promising to restore the Republic, to return power to its people. Yet the truth was clear to all who watched. A new era had dawned. The Republic was no more. Over the next decades, Augustus reshaped Rome and its territories. His rule was marked by peace and stability after years of civil war, a period historians call the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. But this peace came with a price. The Republic's political freedoms were curtailed, and power was centralized in the hands of one man. Augustus reformed the Senate, reducing its size and filling it with loyal supporters. He created a professional standing army, loyal only to the emperor, stationed along Rome's vast frontiers. Veterans were settled in colonies, spreading Roman culture across the empire. The emperor was also a master of propaganda. He commissioned poets like Virgil and Horace to compose works that glorified his reign and Rome's destiny. The epic Aeneid by Virgil became the national myth, linking Rome's origins to the divine and framing Augustus as the fulfillment of fate. He built monumental architecture, temples, forums, and aqueducts, transforming Rome from a city of brick into a city of marble. Statues and coins bearing his likeness spread his image throughout the empire, reminding all that Augustus was the guardian of Rome's future. Despite his outward calm, Augustus's reign was not without challenges. The empire's frontiers were under constant threat from Germanic tribes, Parthians, and other peoples. The devastating loss of 3 legions in the Teutoburg forest in 9 CE was a sobering blow, forcing Augustus to abandon expansionist ambitions in Germania. At home, Augustus's personal life was marked by tragedy and scandal. His daughter Julia's infamous affairs and exile reflected the tensions between his public calls for moral reform and private family strife. His chosen heirs, Gaius and Lucius Caesar, died young, forcing him to adopt his stepson Tiberius as successor. When Augustus died in 14 CE, the Senate declared him a god, Divus Augustus, and his legacy endured as the foundation of the Roman Empire. Augustus's reforms extended beyond military and political spheres. He undertook a sweeping reorganization of the Roman legal system, establishing laws that would govern both Rome and its vast provinces. By dividing the empire into senatorial and imperial provinces, he ensured tighter control over distant lands while maintaining a facade of traditional governance. In the provinces, Augustus worked tirelessly to integrate conquered peoples into the Roman system. He encouraged urban development, building roads, theaters, and aqueducts that connected distant corners of the empire. Roman culture, language, and law spread, creating a sense of unity among diverse populations. His diplomatic skill was unmatched. With the Parthians, Augustus negotiated the peaceful return of the lost legionary standards, a symbolic victory that restored Roman honor without bloodshed. In Egypt, he installed a prefect to govern directly, maintaining control over this vital grain-producing region. Despite his efforts to portray himself as a humble servant of the Republic, Augustus ruled with absolute authority. The Principate he created cleverly balanced republican forms with imperial power, masking dictatorship behind tradition. This system would endure for centuries, shaping the destiny of Rome and its successors as time passed. Augustus grew more reclusive, wary of plots and conspiracies. He trusted few, relying heavily on his wife Livia and a small circle of loyal advisors. Yet, even with his careful planning, the shadow of intrigue and betrayal loomed large over the imperial family. His death marked the end of an era. The Republic was truly dead, and the empire had begun. But the legend of Augustus, the man who rose from obscurity to rule the world, would echo through history, inspiring emperors and rulers for millennia. Thank you for listening to this story about the rise of Augustus and the fall of the Roman Republic. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient history, please subscribe to Ages of War for more epic tales of war, power, and empire. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Until next time, remember the battles, remember the legacies, and never stop exploring the ages of war.